Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, we got a great show lined up here, Shane. One of my favorites, Dave Bartoo, the CFB Matrix. Man, is he entertaining. He tells stories with numbers. And a little backstory, Shane, I don't want to reveal too much because we had a conversation off air, he and I, as soon as we got done with the conversation. And he said, damn, as soon as I heard you curse, I opened up and I started letting the profanities fly. So I was like, oh, okay, I should have let him know right off the top that it's okay to curse on this show. But it's, a great conversation with Dave as always.
Yeah, you can always tell when we got a new guest on. It takes a little while to warm up, like that's why I'm always afraid. When we did media days, that we went to a couple of radio shows, and the whole time I'm like, don't say a cuss word, don't say a cuss word. So I'm all bundled up, like really thinking about what I want to say, so I don't say a cuss word online. I don't want to cancel them. I don't know how that works, but yeah, we cancel. We definitely cuss on this damn show.
I can guarantee you.
Probably more than we should. My mom lets me know that we go a little too far sometimes, Mike.
Cousin Shane is not paying any radio stations FCC violations. I can promise you that.
No, Howard Stern would be proud.
Well, Shane, like I said, we're going to get into team previews next week. We're going to start that. Very much looking forward to that. But we got, again, like I said, we got Dave Bartoo, terrific guests lined up.
Yes.
We got a great hotline question as well, Shane. We actually got two. One's not a question, one's more of a comment here. So hit us up on that hotline at 615-965-5152. And that's in the show notes if you want to hit us up at any time to ask a question, comment, concern, whatever you got for us. But let's kick it over, Shane. This was too good not to play. From Cousin Lyle up there in Alaska. He's a big Razorback man. He's trying to give a helping hand on Cousin Shane there.
Cousin Shane, this is your cousin Lyle in Alaska. Huge Razorback fan. Also, I'm a yoga teacher, so if you ever want to get on with some yoga, along with you walking to the SEC football season, give a brother a shout. I can help you out with some fat guy yoga. Woo damn pig.
All right, Shane, fat guy yoga. I mean, that's what I do. You know what?
You could come over here like Diamond Dallas Page and get me working out in the living room. Buddy, I can barely tie my shoes without holding my breath, so it may be I'm a little ways away from fat guy yoga, but I am sneaking up on it.
All right, and then one other one, Shane. I love this from Cousin Shannon. Want to know the best position groups per SEC team. Let's kick it over to Cousin Shannon.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Shane. This is your cousin Shannon. He's an Arkansas homer, and I was just had a question, kindly wondering what position group of each team is the strongest, and if you could rank them in the SEC, your top 3, top 5 teams on each position group. I'll talk with you boys later. Bye-bye.
Inside baseball, I guess they call it. People don't care, but my internet is crazy. It's a connection. So I'm just going to run through these best position groups per team.
Yeah.
If you got anything to say, try to let me know. Wave your arms up and down and I can stop. Otherwise, I don't know if the internet I don't even know if I'll recognize you, but let's just go over this, Shane. Best position group per SEC team. That's what we're going to do with, thank you, Cousin Shannon, for the question. Alabama, Shane, I'm going running back with Jace McClellan, solid player, Roydale Williams, and then we're adding Justice Haynes, the freshman phenom. There is no wrong answer for Alabama, but I think given what they have at quarterback, some new pieces on the offensive line, I think they're going to be leaning on that ground game. Give me the running backs for Alabama.
This is a group that we've been talking about since spring. And I think it's just going to keep getting bigger and faster and stronger. This is a group that they're really going to lean on. How close were you to including secondary here? I mean, that had to be up there as well, right?
Oh, yeah, but I just waiting for those Tennessee fans, Shane, to say, "Oh, you can't put the secondary up there. I saw this one game.
How many
time.
Hyatt videos do you need to see?" Let's take a look at Exhibit A.
All right, Arkansas, Shane, same position group. I'm trying not to do the same ones repeatedly, but hey, this is what I really think. Running back, Rocket Sanders, maybe the best in not only the SEC, the country. A.J. Green, Rashad Dubinion, Dominique Johnson. They signed another freshman they really like. Running back, loaded with them Razorbacks this year.
Well, again, the only argument there is quarterback because, I feel like we're even a little bit better there behind KJ Jefferson, who I think is one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the SEC right now. So you could convince me on either group here. But, I like Rocket.
All right, how about Auburn, Shane? I'm going the secondary. Nehemiah Pritchett, Zion Puckett, Donovan Kaufman, Jalen Simpson, Keontae Scott. They returned everybody of any kind of starting experience, basically all the production from last season. They were not a great secondary, but they all back in a new system. Give me that experienced veteran group for them Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a lot stuck around last season, so this is going to have to be a group that steps up big this season, and that's what you want. You want more reps, and more reps make better players. So yeah, I'm with you here.
How about LSU, Shane? This was tough because a lot of great players on LSU, but maybe a little extra weight towards the quarterbacks. That's where I went, Shane. Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, maybe. Not in my opinion, but a lot of people's opinion. Jaden Daniels, the best quarterback in the SEC. If he's not the best, he's 2, 3, at worst 4. And Garrett Nussmeier, probably the best backup. So give me the quarterbacks for LSU. Any issue with that?
Speaking of Tennessee, everybody's like, what about Nico? But I'm with you here, buddy. I think best 1-2 quarterback right now is got to be an LSU. However you feel about Daniels, he's going to be at the top of just about everybody's list. And there's probably about 8 programs in the SEC that would like to have their backup. So, give me quarterback here.
Same with Ole Miss for me, Shane. And this is it's tough to do because all these guys are obviously not going to play. But as of right now, as of recording, we got Jackson Dart. We got Spencer Sanders, who started 4 years at Oklahoma State under Mike Gundy, put up a ton of numbers. And Will Howard, the young phenom, 3 deep here at quarterback. Oh, Lane, you know why Lane Kiffin is trolling everybody? Because he's feeling good about his quarterback room.
Yeah, well, rightfully so. But, Mike, how can I have Dark Horse Junkins without having him on my list here? So give me the running backs, brother. They lost Zach Evans, but they found replacements there. I think this is a group that is deeper than you think, and definitely a group that Lane Kiffin is strongly going to be leaning on this season. So I like the running backs here.
Yeah, combine it with Bentley. I knew you'd be a sucker for Junkins.
Yeah, that's my boy.
How about Mississippi State? I think this is an easy one, Shane. It's the linebackers for me. Boogie Watson back.
Yeah.
Jet Johnson back. 2 of the top returning tacklers in the SEC. J.B. Purvis, throw him into the mix as well. Mississippi State doesn't use a lot of linebackers, but the 2 frontline guys they got, elite of elite, Mississippi State, it's got to be the linebackers for me.
Yeah, I like me some Will Rogers, but I'm going to go linebacker here as well, Mike. I think this is a great room, and I think this is going to be a showcase defense. A little bit of a rebuild here, and a lot of that's going to have to do with these captains back there, so I like this one.
Mm-hmm. Now, A&M, this was another tough one, Shane, because there's a few loaded positions. I initially wrote down receiver, Shane, because I think they got the best trio of receivers in the entire SEC with Aniyah Smith, Stewart, Moose Muhammad. Throw in some of those tight ends too. Really good unit. but I can't go anywhere other than that D-line. That's why Shane loves them Aggies. Fidel Diggs, McKinley Jackson, Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan, Overton, LT Overton. I mean, I just, the last guy I mentioned was a 5-star. Shane, we're just throwing 5 stars onto this pile of all this talent that A&M's got. If they're going to do big things this year, it's going to be because this D-line dominates in the SEC.
Yeah, give me them big uglies up front. I am with you here, Mike. If we could do a 1A, 1B on one of these teams, this is it, because I do think that wide receiver group is talented. I'm talking super talented, all going to be playing on Sundays. This kind of reminds me of the Ole Miss a few years back, kind of reminds me of the Alabamas a couple years ago. They just got a lot of talent on that side of the ball, but if Texas A&M's going to make some noise, it's with the defense up front, and damn, are they loaded.
All right, Florida Gators, Shane, give me them running backs. We're only going to go as far as these two studs can take us this year. Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne. Breakout season for him coming, I really do think. So Florida Gators, running backs, maybe the best combo in the country.
Yeah, a little bit of an unsung heroes last year, and I think that's something that Billy and them are going to lean hard on, and rightfully so, because those two guys are super talented. Can't wait to see what they do this year. Give me them running backs for the Florida Gators.
Now Georgia's another almost impossible one, Shane, because you could throw a dart on a board.
Throw a dart.
Yeah, you're going to nail an elite position group, but I went with tight end, Shane, because of Brock Bowers, because of Oscar Delp, because our guy Rusty Manziel says, keep your eye on the freshman Lawson Lucky. I mean, the best player in college football, in my opinion, is Brock Bowers, so I got to go tight ends for them Bulldogs.
Mike, you're frozen, and I had to take a picture of your face because it looked hilarious. So, sorry, I didn't realize Mike was so poor, and we'd go back to dial up here. But I think when you're talking Georgia, like you said, you could just about pick any group. But I also like the tight ends. I think this, when you mention tight ends next year, how can you not mention Brock in that conversation of being the best in the country? And that's kind of what they become. I don't want to call them tight end U or nothing like that, but if they continue to put out talent like they're doing down there in Georgia, I mean, they really could make a case for it here at some point. So give me tight ends as well, Mike. Love it.
How about Kentucky, Shane? I went receivers, Dane Key, Barian Brown, electric player, Tavon Robinson, Dakel Crowdis, Shamar Turner. This is, I think, the best group of receivers maybe in school history for them Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm with you here too, because a lot of people don't, outside of Lexington, aren't talking about it. You know, I saw a Brown video floating around the internet a couple days ago and stuff like that, but no one's talking about the talent that they have there. And damn, they got a quarterback that can get them the rock. I think that's what makes this group even better. Nothing against what Will was last year, but this is a new chapter for Kentucky, and I think it's going to start with a little pitch and catch catch being from one of the best groups in Kentucky. So, do you like that? Do you like that segue?
Let's go to Mizzou, Shane's second favorite team this year. Defensive backs for me, Shane. Enos Rakestraw, Chris Abrams-Drain, Jalen Carlisle, Joseph Charlton, 4 elite players back for them Tigers. They were a big part of why that defense was so good last year, and they're all back. I love this defensive backfield.
Oh yeah, the steel curtain, son. This defense again showed glimpses of it last year, but brother, this group right here, this secondary especially, is the cream of the crop. This is when we get to the end of the season, we're going to be looking back saying, okay, let's rank the defenses from top to bottom. Missouri's going to be toward the top because of this secondary. Total lockdown. So I love this pick.
And same position for me, Shane, for South Carolina. Defensive backs, Marcellus Dial, Nick Emawari, DQ Smith, both freshman phenoms last year, David Spalding, O'Doyle Fortune. I think Missouri's secondary is going to be the unit that leads them on the defense next season. What are your thoughts?
And you know what I love about this defense, especially the secondary, is they will let you know. That's what I like. Loud, vocal, just no shit, no nonsense. Let's create an island. You're living on it defense. That's what South Carolina had last year, especially toward the end of this season. And these guys are bigger, badder, faster. Yeah, give me the secondary South Carolina. Tough group.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tennessee, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Shane. I could have went in a few different directions, but I'm going running backs. I think Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, Dylan Sampson, that's a heck of a trio. And I think with a new quarterback, I think the running game is going to lead the way once again for Heupel and company.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but I love these receivers, brother. They're just so dynamic. They're so different. It's not, I mean, there's not just one form there. I mean, you got Squirrel on one side, you got Brew McCoy on the other, not to mention Keaton. I mean, they've got some young guys that are going to pop this season. If I'm picking a group, especially in this Heupel offense that are strong suit, give me them receivers, brother.
Well, that's the position group I went for Vanderbilt, Shane. Maybe the most underrated duo, Will Shepard, Jaden McGowan, and throw in Quincy Skinner. Gives A.J. Swan some nice targets to work with this fall for the Vanderbilt Commodores. The offense is ahead of schedule compared to the defense. Give me them receivers for the Commodores.
Yeah, and I love Swan. I just wish there was a little more depth over there. So I'm going to go receivers as well. And I think kind of same argument that we made with Kentucky. I think the step up of Swan is going to make these guys look even better in national media appearance. So give it to me, baby.
All right, brother. Well, let's kick it over to our interview before my computer crashes here. Once again, Dave Bartoo, outstanding. You're going to love this. I mean, he tells it like it is, and he don't care if there's any blowback. So let's kick it over to Dave Bartoo. All right, we're so pleased to be joined once again by Dave Bartoo. You know him as the CFB Matrix, one of the best out there telling stories with numbers. Dave, thank you so much for joining the program. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Dude, and as usual, I got lots of stories to tell, and in the SEC, there's never a shortage of not only fun stories, but opinions to be able to look the other direction in when, you know how I enjoy looking left when everybody's looking right.
Exactly. And that's the reason I wanted to have you on, Dave, because most of us, myself included, we're all wrapped up in this 8 versus 9 SEC schedule debate. We've literally been having it for over a year. It's ridiculous. But here we are. We're still having the discussion. Seems like most are in the 9 boat. You are saying, hey, let's pump the brakes on that. Why, in your opinion, did Greg Sankey and the SEC make the wise decision to stay at 8 conference games for at least one more year?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not putting words in Greg's mouth, man. He will kick my butt. And it doesn't appear that Greg made the decision. It appears that the athletic directors did.
Right.
In this regard. And my point of view comes from making the SEC look as strong as possible. That's one of my points of view. The other one, and I think this is regardless of 8, 7, 9, 10, we have a college football that is in flux right now. All right. Changes are happening with the playoffs. Now, up until 10 years ago or so, the bowl system was the pinnacle of college football, and that was the focus. And then it's morphed into this nobody talks about bowls anymore, right? It's all about 4 teams in the playoffs. So we know that going to 12, that's all that anybody's going to talk about. That is what college football has become. And so if I am an SEC fan, or I am let's say I am the commissioner of the SEC, I want the SEC to look as good as possible come playoff time, right? Look as good as possible come playoff time. And also during the regular season, have as many top 25 matchups as possible. Okay. So when you look at the numbers, if you go to 9 games, everybody goes to 9 games. What is going to happen? All right. So the schedules are going to get tougher. Would you agree with that? This is going to create a tougher schedule for everybody from Vanderbilt all the way up to Alabama, Georgia, right?
There's no doubt.
Okay. Now, Alabama, Georgia, are they going to win more or less games if it goes from 8 or 9? Probably not, right? So what we're going to talk about here really doesn't apply to them because they're on the upper level of talent no matter who they play. Okay. They could play a 12-game SEC schedule. They're probably going to be favored in every single football game that they play, except maybe against each other, and who knows what that's going to be. All right. But for everybody else, the schedule is going to get harder. All right. So I'm going to use Missouri as an example because I believe there were 5 teams that said they wanted to go to 9, right? 5 programs. LSU, top 10 recruiter. Texas A&M, top 10 recruiter. Georgia, top 10 recruiter. And who was number
Florida.
4? Florida, top 15 recruiter. Okay, so we got 4 top 15 recruiters and Missouri. Missouri is clearly a bottom half recruiter in the SEC. So when I hear Eli Drinkowitz and the Missouri athletic director say, I want to go to 9, what they're telling me, okay, and keep in mind, a head coach and an athletic director are judged on one thing in fans' minds, right? And that is wins, right?
Oh,
wins
yeah.
and losses. So if I'm sitting in front of everybody going, I want to go from 8 games in the toughest conference in college football, the conference that has more injuries per snap in college football. I want to go from 8 to 9. I want to make it tougher. I want to have a shot at fewer wins. I want to have a lower shot at bowl eligibility. I want a lower shot at being a top 25 team. I want a harder path to get into the conference championship game. I want a harder path to get in the playoffs. That's what Missouri is telling me when I'm hearing somebody like Eli say, I want to go to 9. You are under-talented in this conference. You are asking for less of everything. Absolutely less of everything. And you look at the SEC, it is one of the most consistent conferences in terms of wins and losses in all of college football. Last 10 years, almost 70%, 7 out of every 10 games is won, doesn't matter where it's played, is won by the better recruiter. Period. So when somebody like Missouri says, I want to move up to a harder schedule, are you friggin' nuts? You are judged by wins and losses, and you're telling me you want a chance at fewer wins. Now, for the fans, they're saying, hey, I want better games. Okay, I get that too, because in this day and age, you get instant gratification all the time. You want to watch something you like on dude, the hound dogs just went nuts. I think there was a shotgun in the back 40 or something like that.
It's okay.
So, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We have, everything's going to be tougher. All right. And going to 9 games, again, I understand the programming from the standpoint of, look, we get to control what we want. We all get instant gratification every single day in our programming. Okay. If I want to go to YouTube and watch anything, I want to watch highlights of Maverick making his run with the F-14 versus the Su-57s. I can watch it as many times as I want, right? If I want to watch Russian oil painting dude talking Russian, I can make myself happy every second of the day with my programming, except what? College football. So if everything else makes me happy all the time, I want my conference to make me happy all the time. I think it's a psychological thing, is a big part of this. But I don't think that fans want a tougher schedule with fewer wins. Now, for whatever reason, there's the fans out there. My favorite is, I want a tougher schedule with more wins. Look, Greg, and you want Greg Sankey to bake you a cake and sing you happy birthday too, right? That's not the way it works, right? Tougher schedule, fewer wins for just about everybody. So if it goes to 9, 100% of believe at least half the fan bases are going to be pissed. Why? Because their expectation has gone down about 7/10 of a game a year. They go down 7/10 and up 7/10 in losses. Now that doesn't seem like much, but there's a big difference between 5-7 and 6-6. There's a big difference between 7-5 and being a top 25 team. Now, if y'all are playing each other, we also know that top 25 games, that's really what drives everything. I mean, is it cool watching Oklahoma, Texas? Yes, it is. Two big brands. But if they're both 4-4, who really wants to watch that? Right? Nobody gonna want to watch that. You know what we want to watch is we want to watch an Iron Bowl that both teams are 11-0. Now, the odds of them both getting to 11-0 are much more against them if they're playing a tougher schedule. Right? So realistically, what we want is more top 25 matchups. But if we go to 9 games, or then you got the idiots that want to go to 10, now all of a sudden you put a big wall around your whole conference, and all you're doing is just playing each other. That's the NFL. NFL has 32 teams. They all play each other. There's not a damn meaningful regular season game ever. There's no upsets. Nobody cares, right? It's a bunch of basically 500 teams. So I really don't like it going to 10, but I do believe a lot of people, your fans, SEC fans, support going to 9 because they want better programming. But what they really want is better games, and they'd rather go play more good out of conference games than playing good in conference games. Because if you play 4 non-conference games, what are the odds that you have more top 25 teams in the SEC? It's a lot higher, right? Because you're not beating each other up. You're not causing losses within the conference. So, to me, the staying at 8 is the best way to go because we don't know what's going to happen with the playoffs. I want to see what's going to happen in that environment before I make a change. But I also look at it as if I stay at 8 with 16 teams, my conference, the SEC, I'm going to have more top 25 teams. I'm going to have more teams that are bowl eligible. Come bowl season, I want 14, 15, 16 teams in the bowls if possible. Okay? I want half the top 25 to be SEC teams. If you go to 9 or 10 games, guess what? Wins and losses still count. You're going to start knocking yourself out of the top 25. And then you get to the ultimate, which is the top 12. Look, if they stay at 8, I'll say this right now on your show. If they stay at 8 conference games and playoffs go to 12, once in the next 10 years, we're going to have a Final Four of all SEC teams. Okay? You go to 9, those odds drop way off. I won't take that bet because you're going to cannibalize yourself. And it's going to be, you're going to have less top 25 games. Everybody's looking at it as top 25 teams now. They're all going to be top 25 teams with 9 conference games. They're not, because you're adding losses to the loss column, which is going to reduce that. So overall, not only because there's change happening right now, but I want the SEC to be the most powerful in the postseason. And to me, that's being 8 games, 4 non-conference. I mean, if anything, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10 drop down to 8. Start playing each other. We need to make an incentive to get these guys playing each other. That's the biggest problem right now, is we don't have an incentive to have tough non-conference games.
Well, I'm glad you hit on the playoff, Dave, because I know you have cracked the code, so to speak. It's funny when they come out with this weekly Tuesday show and they try to bullshit their way through why they did this and that and this and that. And you put out the morning before, here's the rankings. And you get it, you nail about 23 of the rankings and minus 1 or 2 here or there. So you clearly have identified what they're looking at. Assuming, now I don't know that if we have this answer, but assuming they stay at the same formula for a 12-team model,
right?
Have you run the numbers on how that would affect the SEC going 8 versus 9 and how many they would potentially get into a 12-team field?
No, I haven't. Now, let's for argument's sake, let's assume they're going to run the same model forward, right? What they're doing to evaluate the top 4 and seed those, let's just say for argument's sake, that's going to move forward, which makes sense because it's working fine right now, and it takes into account really what's important, which is margin of victory, margin of loss, and quality teams you beat. That's essentially the playoff formula right now. So when you look at the SEC, how does it affect the SEC? Well, if that goes forward, one of the big things that the SEC has had an advantage of in this new playoff is numbers, is 8 conference games, 4 non-conference games. Because what it does is, what's really important when you're grading teams for playoff position is how many top 25 teams did you beat. Now, they have to be top 25 at the end of the season, not when you played them, at the end of the season. So if you got 8-4 versus 9-3, the numbers say your odds are you're going to have more top 25 teams to be on your resume. So staying at 8, it's a resume boost. You go to 9, you're hurting your playoff resume. The second thing is, how many quality wins did you have? Now, a quality win in the current playoff system is a team with 7 or more wins at the end of the season. You start playing each other, right? You go from 8 to 9. Guess what? You have fewer quality wins within the conference. You go to 9 to 10, you have even fewer. If you were at, let's say, all 12 games were playing the SEC, guess what? You're hardly going to have any quality wins, because more than half the teams are going to be below 500. It's a numbers game. That's really what I'm trying to get at, is It's a numbers game. So how it would work out, I'm not sure. But I do know that if you go to 9, you're going to have fewer top 25 teams over time. You are going to have fewer quality wins available over time. And that hurts your playoff chances. That's why, as pretending I'm the commissioner of the SEC, right? That's why I'm saying stay at 8. Because you are giving everybody, all 16 teams in your conference, you are giving an opportunity at more top 25 wins, more quality wins. Now, here's where scheduling is important for the Alabama, the Georgias, the LSUs, the Tennessees, and so forth that want to try to get in the playoffs. Now you have to figure out those other 4 games. How do you schedule good teams that are going to be a quality win, like an App State, like a Toledo, and so forth? How do you create good quality wins to boost your resume? That's one of the things that we've worked on with a lot of programs, is how do you schedule within the current playoff system? And we can use numbers to, adjust odds on the strength of a schedule in terms of the ability of getting into the playoffs. So, from the standpoint of how it would affect the SEC, I don't know directly what it would do. But by reducing the number of top 25 teams, by reducing the potential number of quality wins, you are hurting playoff resumes across the board. Now, and a lot of people are probably going, Dave, shit, it doesn't matter. Georgia's getting in no matter what. Okay. Bama's getting in no matter what. Okay. But wouldn't it be nice if Ole Miss, South Carolina, Kentucky, Mississippi State, some of these other teams that aren't just automatically in your mind getting into what if it comes down to, you could get a team in the 11th and 12th seed, but because they played a bunch of conference games, they don't have the resume now, right? So I say, why take the risk on hurting the resume? Stay at 8, split it up, and go from there. Now, you may have to adjust down the road. Some people would say, hey, well, we get to make more money. But when is a diminishing return going to kick in? Okay, everybody made an extra $5 million, but how many have pissed off fans because they're losing more games now? Right? And I know people are listening to this going, oh, our team is going to lose more games. Dude, somebody's losing more games. It's just the way it is. And people listening to this say, well, that's not going to happen to us. Yeah, it probably will. It probably will. Over time, 9 games will cost you playoff position versus 8. And if I'm the commissioner, I want maximum exposure during the postseason. So that's what I'd be looking at from that standpoint.
So just to be clear, according to the way they do the playoff now, it doesn't look at Team A's played 8 conference games. Team B's played 9 conference games. They don't.
Oh shit! No, that don't matter. That don't matter. No, that don't matter. No, it don't matter. Don't matter. It's really easy. Get yourself a whiteboard. You can become a playoff genius. Okay, with a simple whiteboard. All right. You go up next to every team, and all you got to do is put a check mark. Did you win the conference championship game? Boom, you get a point. Okay. Did you beat a top 25 team? Boom, you get a point. Now, when you beat a top 25 team, here's why a conference championship game is so powerful, because you win a conference championship, 1 point. You've beaten a top 25 team in that game, 2 points, and they're a quality win. That's 3. So you just start making marks, championships, quality wins, top 25 wins, and you do that across the board. It doesn't matter if you play 12 games in conference or 12 games out of conference. Look at BYU. Look, BYU could get in the playoffs if they beat enough top 25 teams. Now, where they get killed, they don't get a conference championship game. That's what killed the Big 12. Remember when was it TCU and Baylor?
Yep.
And they said, oh, they tied. And everybody's like, oh, the tie killed them. No, not having the conference championship game killed them, because everybody else above them played a game that weekend and gained basically 3 points. Mm-hmm. So those are super important. But the 8 versus 9, no. People like to say, oh, strength of schedule matters. Bullshit. It matters. Strength of schedule means this much. 0. There is 0 correlation between strength of schedule and quality of the team. The only thing, strength of schedule and the models out there are weak as hell. Even the strength of schedule I make is weak as hell. What I make shouldn't be used. No strength of schedule should be used, but you got to use one. But what they do is they use it only when everything else is equal. So if you and I are the 12 seed, right, and we both have the same number of quality wins, we both got the same margin of victory, and we both got the same number of top 25 wins, and everything is equal, we got the same record, and you got a better strength of schedule than I do, then you're going to get in. But that's the only time it's going to be used. And I hate when it's used, because there's so few non-conference games head-to-head against these guys. It's hard to create a really good model. But, man, for the SOS people, dude, you're never – I've run the numbers so many times. It is – using an SOS model to determine who's winning is as easy as just picking up a coin and flipping it.
Well, Dave, I also wanted to ask you about 2-point conversions, because you're another one.
The ghost, chasing the ghost. Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm raised, you go for 2. I mean, 2, Lane Kiffin, Mike Leach, geniuses, they go for 2 all the time. But according to you,
not geniuses. When you go for 2, you're not a genius. You're not a genius. You're a dumbass. You're a total dumbass. You are chasing a ghost. You are trying to catch a unicorn fart under a rainbow in fairyland. It doesn't exist. Look, I'll give you a great example. 2022, and I could do this for every year going back, but let's just look at 2022, right? There are 738 games, 738 games, FBS versus FBS, okay? Number of 1-point endings, okay? It was 28, so it's basically the numbers are 1 out of every 25 games last year ended in a 1-point game. 1 out of 25. So if you are, well, you know, if you're Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss and you're going for 2 points, right? You are chasing a game that's going to happen once every 25 games. Okay. Now understand, going for 2 is the expected value of going for 2 is less than kicking the extra point. Mm-hmm. Okay. The expected value of going for 2 is less than kicking the extra point. It's even worse if you're trailing. Okay, the odds of getting 2 consecutive 2-point conversions in a game is less than 15% if you're trailing. All right. So last year, 738 games, 1 out of 25 ended up in a 1-point game. Now there were only 4 games out of 738 that were influenced directly by 2-point conversions. 4 of them. Those teams went 1-3. 1-3. The only win on a 2-point conversion that I've given credit to was Utah over USC. And I know, oh my God, LSU fan just lost their shit, right?
I was trying to catch you on it. I was going to catch you on it.
You're wrong, because you didn't win that game on a 2-point conversion. You know who lost that game on 2 failed 2-point conversions? Before you should have never had a shot at that 2-point conversion if Nick Saban doesn't go for 2 and fails twice. Game would have never gone into overtime. That's one of the 3 losses. Alabama, Nick Saban. So you're 1-3 chasing 2-point conversions in 2022.
Well, that's why that data is so fascinating, because we all remember the final play,
right?
But we forget how we got there.
Right. Now, was it cool that LSU had the opportunity to go for that? Oh God, yeah. Right. I mean, it's just and Utah against USC at home. Basically, the last play, going for 2. Boom. That is exciting that the play is there. I'm not saying change it. If anybody thinks, oh, then we just don't need 2-point conversions. No, it makes shit exciting. Don't get me wrong, right? And when you're in a situation, understand that when you're watching a game where a 2-point conversion can win it, like LSU or like Utah, that is so rare. So incredibly rare. It just, when you're behind and the team's going for 2, game's already over. You're dead. You're not, it's not going to happen. And if it does, it is such a blessings from the college football gods. You have no idea how rare that is to be able to even witness something like that. But when you see a head coach going for 2 in a situation where the time left in the game and the number of drives they have left to try to win, it does not match up. You see somebody going for 2 in the first, second, third quarter, he is making a wrong decision. Not only does that lose more games than it wins, it just is such a non-factor. So that's my data. That's my take on it. I don't care who the head coach is. If he's going for 2 before time running out in the fourth quarter, it's just a bad decision by the numbers. You are chasing a ghost that you're never going to catch.
Mm. Hey, Dave, do you got time real quick to just run down a couple teams I wanted to ask you about real quick in the SEC?
Go for it. Go for it. Well, we can fly through some stuff, try to make some stuff up as we go along too.
Yeah, one team I'm fascinated with is Mississippi State, with the coaching turnover, an offensive coordinator that has not called plays at Power 5, a defensive coordinator that's never done it, first-year head coach. Yet fans are fired up. They're calling me an idiot for saying they're not going to win 8 or 9 games.
Dude, who said State's going to win 8 or 9 games?
I mean, all their fans are fully on board the Zach Arnett train. And he may be a hell of a coach, but year one, that's a tough task.
Okay, so number one, Mississippi State's a bottom half recruiter in the SEC, right? Mm-hmm. They have one of the worst 3-game runs in all of SEC schedule this year. I think they go Bama, South Carolina, LSU.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, you're exactly right. LSU, South Carolina, Alabama, back to back to back.
In week what, 3, 4, 5?
Yes.
Yeah, who'd they piss off to get that? I mean, that's just the physicality index of that is brutal. They are going to be beat to shit on that, right? I mean, absolutely beat to shit.
And then, Dave, listen to this. 2 weeks later, they start this run at Arkansas, at Auburn, Kentucky, at Texas A&M. So 3 or 4 on the road against some of those toss-up games, but 3 on the 4 on the road.
After getting the crap kicked out of them by LSU and Alabama's, it's a brutal schedule, number one. Number 2, they're a bottom half recruiter. So, talent is not there versus some of the upper teams. Okay. You have entire coaching staff turnover. You got a new OC. You got a new DC. You got new culture. You got new everything. And I mean, seriously, anybody thinking 8, 9 wins is if they get there, holy shit, dude, coach of the year, SEC coach of the year, no question. Right? Mm-hmm. Do you know how many games Dan Mullen and Mike Leach won combined at Mississippi State in their first year? 9. So Mississippi State fan that's going, dude, we're going to win 9 games. Dan Mullen plus Mike Leach won 9 games combined in their first year.
Yeah.
Come on. Dude, give the guy a break. I mean, not only do you have all that, you have an iconic figure, Mike Leach, dying in December during recruiting season. I mean, he literally couldn't have picked a worse week to leave the program.
Yeah.
Man, why do the fans have to? I don't get it. I mean, if you want to give the guy a chance, hope for 6 and 6. Try to get to a bowl, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, give some time, have some real expectations. Maybe they'll get there, right? Maybe he is that guy. I love him. He does listen. He does think outside the box. He's working as hard as any head coach to take in information all over the place. I love what he's doing. But to put the pressure on Zach and the rest of the staff and the kids to try to get to 8 to 9 wins, oh, man, not only are you setting them up for failure, you as a fan, you're setting yourself up for failure. The same way going to 9 games. Oh, we're going to go to 9 games. Our schedule's going to get tougher. We're going to win more football games. That's not the way the math works. And the same thing with Mississippi State, man. Don't get over your skis. I, as a Mississippi State fan, I'll be happy with 6-6. That'll be a great start going in the right direction. If after everything that's happened, they can get to 6-6 with that schedule, good job, Zach.
Now, what about Arkansas? They overachieved 2 years ago, arguably underachieved last year. But you could just say, they won the close games 2 years ago. They lost them a year ago. Maybe that's just the difference here. Any thoughts on Arkansas with a new defensive and offensive coordinators?
Oh yeah, so you got total difference in coaching continuity there. Now, you lost one of the best offensive coordinators in Briles in college football. You bring in so you've taken a step down on offense. Defensively, you've taken a step down, right? I mean, we don't know where Williams is going to be. I mean, he's a rising star in our system, but he only has 2 years as a play caller, so we really don't know his downside. That always scares me is not knowing the downside of a guy. So I think you're taking a step back in both spots. Now, overall, the staff is still very, very good. But again, are we talking about a bottom half recruiter in the SEC? Yes, we are. Looking at the schedule, I pulled it up while I was talking. So we got win, right out of the gate, right? Mm-hmm. We should be 3-0. Woo! And then we go LSU, A&M, Mississippi, Bama. Dude, how do you expect if you're
gonna win them all? No.
You're gonna lose them all. You're gonna be underdog in all those football games, right? Mm-hmm. You're 3-0, and now you're 3-4, and then you got the matchup of crazy fans who both think that their team should be 9-9. So you got Mississippi State and Arkansas. At least for Arkansas, that's at home. So let's give them 4-4, and then they go to Florida. That's a 50-50 game right there. So now we're at 4.5 wins. You get Auburn at home, which you're getting them late in the season, but they had probably the biggest overall staff upgrade in all of college football last year. So let's be nice and go 50-50. Now we're at 5 wins, FIU 6, and Missouri at home 7. Man, if you're thinking more than 7 and 5, and man, that LSU, A&M, Bama, Ole Miss right there, same thing as Mississippi State. The physicality, the back end is easy. Man, I'd flip-flop this thing if I could in a heartbeat. Yeah. All your 50-50 games, all your tough game, your quote-unquote easier games come after this 20-day, from September 23rd to October 14th, 20 days, you get LSU, A&M, Bama, and Ole Miss. God, that is a thankless ass schedule right there. Mm-hmm. Really is. So I don't know what the Vegas total is. I bet you it's close to 6.5. Yeah. The over under is probably 6, and I'd say 6.5 is a good number for Arkansas for the Vegas total.
I believe that's exactly what it is, Dave. So you referenced Florida there. Year 2 under Billy Napier. Now I think they're one of the bottom tier in the East, but some people think I'm wrong, and hell, for their sake, I hope I am. Do you think Florida takes a year 2 jump under Napier?
I don't know how big of a jump it's going to be. I really think it's going to be more of a 3-year process for these guys. Bottom tier. I really see the East as 3 tiers, right? You got Georgia and Tennessee, and then you have South Carolina, Florida, Kentucky. And then I don't know where you want to put. Do you want to put Missouri down with Vanderbilt or Missouri up with those guys?
I would put them up with them.
Okay, that's cool. Or hell, you can just make it 2 tiers. You can go. It's the Tennessee Georgia show and everybody else, right? But Florida, I would say don't underestimate them too much. Look, they got a new DC who's called plays for 2 years. Rising star, kind of like Arkansas, right? So we don't know what we got with that guy, but we know he's been doing well. And he turned the Southern Miss numbers around really good in year 2. All right, got a new quarterback. Finally got rid of the last one, which underperformed. Every year that he was there, so we don't have to worry about that hanging over our head. But you go through this. They're going to Utah. Going to probably lose that football game. McNeese State. So now they're 1-1. They get Tennessee at home. Going to lose that. We're at 1-2. Charlotte 2-2. Florida, Kentucky, there's your 50-50, right? We don't know what we're going to get out of Kentucky. They lost their quarterback as well, but they got a top 10 defensive coordinator. So we'll call that 50-50. So now we're at 2.5. Vanderbilt, everybody should beat Vanderbilt. The defense should still be horrific. So now we're at 3.5 wins. At South Carolina, wrong place to play. We're still at 3.5 wins. Georgia, Florida, 3.5 wins. Arkansas at home. You got it 50-50. There's 4. LSU on the road, still at 4. Missouri 5. And then Florida State at home, 50-50. So I'm looking at 5-6. So I bet you the Vegas line is 5.5, 6 wins on that one right now.
Yeah, no, you're dead on again. What about A&M? That's such a difficult team for me to get a read on. With
is Jimbo still there?
As of this recording, he is, unfortunately.
Okay. So Jimbo's still there. Is Jameis Winston the quarterback?
No, not this year.
Okay. So we know that A&M's going to underperform their talent, right? That's pretty easy. That's my dickhead way of simplifying it. I know. But let's be realistic. When Jimbo was hired, our number said he was an average head coach.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, does he have a very good staff? He has a phenomenal football staff. All right. I mean, if you take his other 10 headsets and give that program a lot of other head coaches, you're talking national championship. Look, they're a top 10 recruiter. They've been a top 10 recruiter for the last 4 years, right? 8-4 last year. That was one of the worst talent to result ratios we had in college football last year. Texas, A&M, and Oklahoma. Those were 2 terrible teams last year when it comes down to talent and expectations. Petrino, this is A&M's got to be really interesting for people because you got Petrino, and Petrino's number one goal is to become a head coach in the Power 5 again. I don't care what anybody says. That is it. All right. So is he going to try to steal Jimbo Fisher's job? Is he there to replace Jimbo Fisher when Jimbo Fisher leaves? Or is he there to kick ass on offense and have an AD take a chance on him? Right. Mm-hmm. So either way, the 2 of those 3 scenarios, A&M comes out on top in that. Right. So I think that's probably one of the least talked about, most dynamic parts of the SEC this year is Bobby Petrino. Mm-hmm. Because, yes, he is volatile, but on the field, he's a football genius, right? Yeah. I don't think we'd argue. Everywhere he has been, he has an incredible impact on the field. He actually has an incredible impact off the field. It happens to be negative. But my numbers don't keep track of guys off the field. I just look at, what they do on the field. And this guy is tremendous, both in play calling and as a head coach. So I think that with A&M, that might be one of the biggest wild cards because they have the talent. I don't think any of us would argue they have playoff talent in College Station. They've had it there almost the entire time Jimbo's been there. So the question is, can Jimbo get the staff and the players culturally together to make that run? I would lean what I would always expect is him to head coach the players below their talent. But again, it's kind of like Florida. It's talented enough program where if you overlook it, it could really bite you in the ass on any given Saturday.
All right, last one, Dave. I don't know if you've seen this, but I boldly predicted LSU as the next national champion of college football. How outlandish is that according to your numbers?
It's not blowing a 0.8 driving or 1.2 or whatever. But actually, so it would be a huge anomaly if that was to happen. You have a defensive coordinator grade. So number one, what could make it happen? Do they have the talent level of past national champions? Yes, they have the talent level. They're a top 10 recruiter. They have the talent level of all 23 consecutive last national champions. So we can check that box. How good did they do last year? They were not top 25 in total team scoring efficiency. No team in the last 23 years has been outside my top 25 in total team scoring efficiency and won the national title next year. Now, they were close. They were 31. So they were really, really close, but they weren't that good last year. I think they might be a year away. And do they have the offensive coordinator grade? Yes. Denbrook is a national championship level OC. 3.5 stars or better. Defensive coordinator is not there. He hasn't proven it. Now, they don't have an elite coordinator. They got an elite head coach. Brian Kelly is absolutely an elite head coach, but he does not have an elite OC. He does not have an elite DC. He has a 3-star DC. He's got a 4-star OC. And based on the last 23 national champions, that's not enough staffing to get there. I think LSU is going to fall short, and I think it's going to be on the defensive side. They're going to be a hell of a team. They're going to be a tough out, but when they lose and don't make your prognostication come true, it'll be on the defensive side of the football.
All right, Dave, before you go, can you tell the audience where's the best place to find all your work?
Oh, shoot. Always go a couple of things. So number one, follow me on Twitter at CFB Matrix. All right, that's one. Two, I do have a text line. I am that much of a college football freaking junkie. 971-217-8419. You send me a text that is civil. I will respond always at some point. And in the coming weeks, keep an eye out for Matrix Analytical. That is my consulting company. We work for programs all over college football. Our big thing, we do have the biggest coaching staff search engine in the world. We have over 15,000 graded college football coaches in there, and we're going to roll out our website showcasing these guys this month. That'll be under Matrix Analytical. You can find that on Twitter as well. We're really excited about rolling that out too.
Oh man, I can't wait. So yeah, as soon as that's out, let us know. We'll blast it out there to everybody, all our audience there for you.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time today, Mike.
All right. Well, nonetheless, Shane, it was a great interview. I'm glad you got none of that. You got anything else, man, before we hop off the line?
No, man. Appreciate him coming on with his fancy computer talk. You know, that's something that obviously I can't. Here I am trying to keep my camera plugged up, freaking out. So I absolutely love this analysis, Mike. This is one of my favorite parts. It's kind of like listening to Rogan. You know, like sometimes you get a dummy that's funny, and then sometimes you get somebody that's a lot smarter. Building shit. So that's what this show provides. We're like poor man Rogan. So, but brother, I think this is fantastic. I appreciate all the callers calling in.
Yeah.
If you could, Mike, could you give them that number one more time? Maybe by the end of the season, I'll have it memorized.
Yeah. Shane texts me, several times a week. Hey, can you give me that number? It's 615-965-5152. So I pretty much have it down pat. Shane will get it in about 2 years.
I'll get it at some point. I'll have to put it up on the wall over here so I can keep reading it. But no, absolutely. It's cool. It's great getting on here with you, Mike. And, again, we're starting to break down these teams next week. So this is going to be one of my favorite times of the year because we're going to get an in-depth analysis of each and every program in the SEC. So be sure to tune in next week and the rest of this week because if we get some news, even though it's a little bit slow right now, we're going to be airing it out to you.
No doubt. Well, brother, thank you, as always, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols. Let's go do some fat yoga.